get started. So my guest today is Dick Williams. He's a senior national manager. I've worked with him in IIPA, the International Iridology Practitioners Association. And of course, the purpose of this webinar is to do something a little different. It's to talk about the business aspect of this, not the health or product aspect of it. So Dick, how did you get started in this business? What got you involved in it?
Well, it was a chance meeting. I got a phone call from a gentleman who had been at a dry cleaning store, and he was in multi-level marketing with a company by the name of Nature's Sunshine. And he tried to recruit this lady who blew him off by giving him the name of her boyfriend, who was a salesman in a cemetery, who knew this guy that was always walking around with this book called Prevention Magazine and was always talking about health. So I got a call from this gentleman who was trying to recruit the lady in the dry cleaners. And he asked me to meet him at a very nice restaurant. Little did I know how penurious Ed Bearshaw was. But I got
very persuasive, wasn't he?
I found out what a napkin presentation was and a cup of coffee. And that was the beginning and my good fortune. I left there very thoroughly confused as to what he meant by a marketing plan, but he said, let's give a meeting and we'll talk a little bit about health. So I was working 7 days a week for about 25 years in this glamorous job that I had, selling cemetery lots door to door. You just couldn't beat it. It was a wonderful job. So
sounds tremendously fulfilling.
Yes, it was. It kept me quite active, but I had to work 7 days a week in order to maintain the lifestyle, that minimum lifestyle standards. So I told all of my friends, essentially other coworkers, that there wasn't going to be another one of these meetings, but everything they ever wanted to know about health will be there. So 15 of them showed up, 14 of them became managers. We were area managers when that meeting finished. We were car qualifiers.
Wow.
So we got off to a fast start. But that was because of Ed Bearshaw and his meeting. And of course, I had the people there. That's very important as well.
Well, what did he say that helped convince people to get started? I know Ed was very, very outgoing and so forth.
We had some very sophisticated equipment in those days. One was called a carousel projector. I'm going to turn off this cell phone. Let me take just a second.
Mm-hmm.
I don't multitask.
I don't multitask either. I'm horrible at multitasking.
I just read something that said nobody can multitask, not even women. They really don't. Their effectiveness on whatever it is they're trying to do both ways is diminished significantly. So I forget where I was, Stephen.
Okay, you were telling about the presentation Ed did for your group.
Oh yeah, we had the sophisticated equipment that is no longer available today. It's a shame. It's called a carousel projector. You could put a slide in there and it would enlarge into this really large photo on a screen. And we had a magic box that was called a cassette player. And you could put a tape in there, a man's voice would come out. And it would be consistent with this picture of this herb. It was magic. There were 32 of them. And when we finished, we were all astonished as to what these herbs were for and what they would do. And they all wanted in. That's what happens when you have sophisticated electronics like we had.
Awesome. So, how over the years have you built your business? What are you'd say if someone who wants trying to get started in this field today? What are some of the suggestions that you have for people?
Well, I tell them, well, what am I doing today? I'm doing what I used to do, which was to drive to towns all over this country, sometimes taking 2 days to get there to give a meeting. I had a milk run to 4 or 5 local states, Maryland, DC, Pennsylvania, Ohio. They all consisted of showing up with a screen and a projector. Eventually, that more sophisticated equipment came by, and that was just part of my life. In-home meetings, local meetings, same hotel once a week here in Richmond. And we would go over the same material over and over again. Eventually, it got more sophisticated to the point where now I'm using a system such as we're using right now, and I mentor 7 or 8 of my people. And it depends on what level they're on. Some of them are new, some of them are people under them that need mentoring, and they're doing their full-time job still. So that doesn't answer your question exactly. That's what I'm doing now. How would I bring somebody in the business? Let's say I just met them today. I was sitting, unfortunately, last Tuesday, I lost all my ID, my money clip, which contained all my credit cards, driver's license, right to carry permit, all of that stuff. And so I'm sitting in the DMV. No, this was Social Security. I've become elderly to the point where I qualify for Social Security benefits. So that was about a 2-hour wait. Next to me was a lady, and we chatted. Turned out she's a master esthetician. She manufactured her own herbal, actually herbal's not the right word, minerals, makeup for ladies of color. She teaches yoga. Her son is a martial artist. I'm a retired professional martial artist. So all this stuff started coming up, and she called me when she got home, and she said, I didn't get the benefits that I was expecting for. Normally, I would have been rejected, but her exact words were, I've been uplifted by our conversation and this new friendship that we have, and I would like to see your website. And on my website is all you'll ever want to know about herbs, with hundreds of webinars and all sorts of things that I can bring up. If I were to do screen share with you now, there's a ton of stuff that you have taught me through the years that now I teach others. So it's just a matter of I never think about what I'm going to say to somebody. When the opportunity is there, it comes forward. And I usually get 2 or 3 of those a day.
So you just start up conversations with people and kind of let it naturally.
It's kind of hard not to start a conversation. I don't care if you're in the grocery line or what. There's always something you can say. And if you don't have a business card, you're making a big mistake. If you don't have a flyer for your next meeting, you're making a big mistake. You need to be prepared.
Yeah. So you would say, because one of the things that has come across consistently for people, the herbalists who are in network marketing, herbalists who aren't, is that they all seem to have built their business teaching classes, holding meetings, educating people. Would you say that that's probably one of the most important things you can do if you want to build your business?
Well, the most important thing is getting someone to the meeting. And I've had people give meetings to empty rooms on the internet and think that they're accomplishing something. So that's number one. You need to have an audience. And then number two, you have to be prepared. Fortunately, in this day and age, we have wonderful webinars. If we can read, then we can give an excellent presentation. So it's not a challenge even for a brand new person. If they have a laptop computer, now most of the places that I go to, the libraries, wherever, they have smart TVs. You don't even have to, Bluetooth. It's just amazing. So having the knowledge that we used to have, Stephen, that we learned from you and some of the my first teacher was Dr. Christopher, and I know that's a magic word to both of us.
Yes,
and that was astonishing to me. Some of the things that he did. I still have his first 6 VCRs. VCRs were just coming out at that point, and if I ever play one of his VCRs at a meeting, and they go 2 hours, and the meetings are only supposed to go an hour. If I turn that off, people get hostile. He was so magical, and so that information passed on. There was a time when I actually was so full of myself as a result of listening to some of this stuff nobody else knew. I thought that I was supposed to be the messenger, and it turned out that my job is to make sure that people understand that people don't listen very well if they're hungry. They're not very spiritual if they're financially challenged. So I know the rudiments of herbalism and detoxification and appropriate products to take for most things. I know that everybody has pH problems. Everybody has liver problems. I don't care how healthy they think they are. I know certain places to go. As you know, Iridology, I thought that was part of Nature Sunshine. I was surprised to find out later it wasn't. And I will be seeing you in Las Vegas. And
at the IIPA conference, yeah.
You'll be speaking, and I'll be listening.
Yeah. Well, so you mentioned the importance of being able to get people to the meetings. What tips do you have for helping to get people out to meetings? Because that's, of course, a thing that's a challenge sometimes.
It's a lost art. People don't like to go to meetings like they used to, but it's a matter of motivation. So I, frankly, most of my meetings now are done right from where I'm sitting in my office.
So they don't have to go someplace; they can just attend the meeting at their.
Yeah, and some, we can have people in maybe 15 or 20 states. And in some cases in Europe, anybody can tune in to the number that we give for the meeting, and in their real time, we're all at the same meeting. I could never do that physically in the beginning.
Right.
In the beginning, the radius around my residence, we carried over $140,000, $150,000 worth of inventory in our home because there was no internet. And we had to drive around with a lot of product. So things have just gradually morphed into, I can't imagine what's going to come next. I guess we'll be using drones before long.
To deliver the products.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what tips would you suggest for keeping meetings interesting so people, are not bored or lost, or when you're doing your meeting, when you're teaching someone?
I didn't quite get the.
So okay, you get them to the meeting. How do you make the meeting interesting so someone really wants to get involved? What are some tips you have for that?
How do we capture their interest once they show up at the meeting?
Yeah, once they show up at the meeting.
Well, the meeting content, of course, and as I say, I have 53 years worth of materials on my desktop, and it all depends. We do rotating subjects. The one that comes to mind is the brilliant body, which I'm sure you're familiar with, 10 body systems, an hour on each of those. with the Inform program with Nature Sunshine, there's great options. There's just all the material that we have is thought-provoking and life-saving, and very challenging and uniquely educational. So there's never a question of whether they're going to be interested once they get to the meeting. There are a couple of basic rules that I have: no children, or have a babysitter in the next room. And I learned that because I started out with some of my biggest people. I didn't understand why all those children are around. I didn't know what LDS meant in those days.
Oh, yeah.
They take their children very seriously, and they're going to bring them to your meeting. And I didn't want them at my meeting. I didn't know until years later. I did that at a Montessori school one time. I said, "Get those kids out of here so I can give them my meeting." I was ushered out the door. So no, if it's a regular in-home meeting and they know the subject matter, no food. You've got to have control, of course. I was at a woman's house. I've laughed at this so many times. And we had a full room. And there's a man sitting in front reading a newspaper, smoking a cigarette. And without thinking, I took the paper out of his hand. I put his cigarette out. It turned out it was the girl's father. And she was snickering like the dickens. And you're either in charge or you're not. I was given the meeting. He wasn't. He was being rude. And so I could have gotten thrown out. And I don't think I have, in the cemetery business, I've been asked to leave a few times, but I don't think after my 25th close, it's time to go. But in terms of what we have to offer with Nature Sunshine and health freedom in general, that is a great topic as well. Quite a few challenges from GMOs, all sorts of things that the public has to deal with, chemtrails, so on. And I don't know if that answers your question entirely or not, Stephen.
Well, it's just interesting how different people do it. One of the things that I find, and I was reminded of this recently, and I just started doing it more, is to not spend so much time on, data, but more on telling stories. I think people love to hear stories about your experiences using remedies, about your experiences helping people, that sort of thing. Do you find the same thing to be true? That stories are very motivating?
Oh, absolutely. They're a key. This woman that I was talking about being down to Social Security, the first thing I did is I said, you don't know very much about me. I'd like to invite you to look at my website. And I said, go to blog and arrow down. You'll go past a lot of really interesting things about our trips to Ireland and some photos that I took from the front seat of a plane that I was taking. I wanted to brag a little bit about being a pilot. And then I said, read the article about Dick's recovery from cancer to health. And I think you'll find that interesting. And so that whole story of what happened to me and how I cured, I used the cure word. It's me, I can do that. And I did cure myself because my doctor sent me to have surgery. And I was put on this treadmill that I've been hearing about all my life. And this doctor's a good friend of mine. Mm-hmm. And he said, this Mohs surgery is really good. Well, I've met a bunch of people that have had Mohs surgery since then that half their face is gone. One of them told me, I wish I'd never started. I have one, unfortunately, in my downline right now. They're doing skin point. They took out everything down to the bone. They can't get all the cancer. I learned from the year before last, if you remember that convention, Steve, we even had a neurosurgeon there, if you recall.
Right.
And they were all talking about cancer, and I had cancer at that time, and I was trying to decide what to do about it. I also had a PhD, but she knew as much about herbology and naturopathic things as anyone I've ever met. And she said, never, ever let them operate on that because they'll spread strands. It's like seeding cancer. They can't see the spores, and you'll have nothing but cancer issues for the rest of your life. The way they look at it, they're extending your life by 4 or 5 years with the chemo. What they're basically gradually doing is killing your immune system, and they think they're doing you a favor. So I left that convention. Remember Dave Carpenter, who I'm sure you know well.
Yes, I know Dave Carpenter. So did you get some sea herb?
Advice was, go to Mexico. I'd been to Cancun, and I said, I hate to take that out of my savings because that's expensive. You know very well it's very costly to go there.
Very costly.
And then the little voice inside said, wait a minute. You know exactly what their protocol is. You know what their diet is. You know what their cleansing program is. You know about polyarchal, antitumoral, antiviral, antifungal, antibacterial. You know about pawpaw. You know about DSC. Take a product that's good for your QV. It'll boost your check a little bit, and you won't have cancer. One of the things that was key to me was that I'm really good at muscle testing myself. And at the time that I had this cancer, I had a film crew in my house for 2 days. So I knew I was going to get some kind of award from Nature Sunshine. And my daughter was putting, my face was red, white, and blue. The only remnant I have here is from the doctor that I went to who had diagnosed me. He was angry because I didn't take his protocol and have the Mohs surgery. So he dug really deep and on the last biopsy. And he wouldn't even talk to me when I was clear. I had to call in and find out that I was clear. But I'm backing up a little bit. I wanted to be able to say something because I knew I was going to get an award of some kind. I wanted to have some mic time, and I wanted to say I cured myself from cancer with Nature Sunshine products. Little did I know that they would never let me near a mic to say that.
Yes, they're not going to let you near a mic to say that. No, not
but
the company.
I was muscle testing myself, and I knew the date of the convention, and I could see that I was going to be cured, but I would not be cured by that date. So I thought to myself, what can I do? And I muscle testing myself, I know you understand very well.
Oh yeah, I actually honestly think muscle testing is one of the most valuable things I ever learned.
Yeah, I can muscle test myself to the minute that I'm going to be over something. And so I could see that I'd be cured, but it'd be 2 weeks beyond the convention. Would want to know for their own family.
Yeah, what you did.
These people
you do think they want to know what you did.
They don't take the chemotherapy themselves. They go to Mexico when they get cancer. And I saw a study done from Canadians, medical doctors who are apparently more honest than ours. And it was a blind study, so they didn't know. But they all said, except for maybe 2%, they would never take what they give to their patients. They would never allow any member of their family to do so either. So they know. But by the time they find out that this is a hustle, they've got the boat in the bay, they've got the second home, they've got kids in college, they want to keep their medical license. And so it's very tough. And also, if you're paying attention to Facebook these days, I call them integration physicians, so that teach herbalism as well as allopathic medicine. The ones that are speaking out about vaccine are being whacked.
Oh yeah, definitely the medical people who step out of line.
But by whacked, by the way, people, I'm speaking about murdered. And we have their names. We know who they are. Ingle Westall just posted a whole list of them the other day. So if you think this is not serious, it's very serious, and they're going to protect what they have as best they can. Thank goodness.
It's
I listen.
very serious. It's part of a real, I would say, war going on.
There is, and we have
between really learning about health and the things that are destroying our health, because like you mentioned the GMOs, you mentioned the vaccines, the therapy for cancer. I'm about ready to write my Sunshine Sharing newsletter, and I decided it's about heart health, and I decided to simply go down and take all the medical treatments they do that are supposed to help you with your heart, and just basically say, look, this is bad for this reason. Here's what you should do instead. Here's bad for this reason. This is what you should do instead. Statins, blood thinners, blood pressure medication, the whole 9 yards, because most of what is going on in medicine in terms of chronic and degenerative disease is just downright wrong. It doesn't work. It's completely ineffective. It just manages symptoms. They don't cure cancer. They just...
No, it's a business. And it's a shame people are dying needlessly. And I'm just a lucky guy, a cemetery lot salesman that was fortunate enough that this man called me. And I had teachers like you, that are very few like you, that I'm getting emotional. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
How to save my life. I'll always be grateful to you for that, Stephen. Thank you.
Well, I would guess that what really makes you successful is that you're passionate and you're really willing to go tell people what you know. That you're not shy about it.
No, I'm not shy.
That's the bottom line of what I'm hearing, is that you're willing to go out there and tell people about it because you're passionate about what you do. And I think a lot of people are a little nervous to approach people or say things to people, but the longer I'm in this business, the more I think there's so much misinformation out there. There's so many things that are wrong, and people are, I think of the scripture, my people perish for lack of knowledge, right?
Yes.
And so we have the knowledge to tell people, and we just have to be a little more bold about sharing the message.
Well, one of the things that has always amused me, my job description when I came to Nature Sunshine was that I had a big map of the city, and I would decide in the morning where I was going to go that night. And I would draw a line around that so I wouldn't hit it again. And I'd park over at the end of the block, but maybe 20 houses. And then I'd start at the first house, knocking cold on the door. My game was, because I found it very stimulating, I made my mind blank, so I would have no idea what I was going to say when that person opened the door. It was a game for me. I enjoyed it.
Oh, wow.
Sometimes there'd be a dog there, or there'd be a little kid. Wow, what kind of dog is that? It was showtime. And then it was a matter of putting on a 2-hour presentation. I was about a 50% closer. And I did 3 of those a night. And I had a rule to have to, if I didn't get a sale, 2 sales on the first 2 calls, then I would have to, even if the lights were out, until 9 o'clock. And damn, if that was where I would always get my sales, on that 9 o'clock call, which I didn't want to make. I hoped and prayed no one would answer the door at 9 o'clock, and they would. And that was one of the reasons that I was so successful at this, because when Ed said that people are going to let you in, they're going to expect you. I said, what? People are going to let me in, that they're going to expect me to be there? And I said, this is like child's play. So, comparatively speaking, this was so simple, and it's always been very simple for me, because I guess what I went through for I was a slow learner. I did this for 25 years, but I was
wow.
Good at it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I guess that having that background in sales was really useful for you in terms of not being afraid of approaching people, huh?
No, that was just that was my job.
Mm-hmm. Well, do you have any?
My houses a day.
Do you have any final tips for people who want to get in this business, who who would like to have a career here and be able to, change what they're doing and have a business like this, what would you
I would
be
like
the
to.
number one secrets that you would give them to make this
I
successful?
would like to think of this in terms of as an annuity. If I don't get out of bed tomorrow, I have a downline of thousands of people, and I'm going to get a very nice check. And whoever takes over my business, my wife, my daughter, whoever it is, they're going to have a solid foundation. So in terms of health and wealth, what could be a better opportunity? And so to just make that point, most of the people are living from week to week, like I did for years, paycheck to paycheck, sometimes working with 4 or 5 credit cards in order to just get it to the next paycheck. This is helping people stay alive. It's helping them live longer. I just looked at a report from Harvard Medical School and the National Institute of Health. If a person so much as takes a plant-based multiple vitamin, it will extend their life by 10 years. And that's kindergarten stuff compared to the stuff that we know. Nature Sunshine, you, as my teacher, taught me how to cure myself from cancer. That's a big deal.
Yeah. Well, that is a big deal. There are a couple of things that I'm getting from you that I just want to point out to people listening. One is, there's a lot of network marketing companies out there, and they sell their product on this kind of get rich quick hype, right? But what you're looking at here is not something that's like, oh, here, rah, rah, this is like this fad that's going to come and go. But this is a business that's solid, or people who like you who've been in it for decades, right?
35 years.
Yeah, and it's stable, a good company. And there's a lot of herbalists I know who are out there trying to make a living. And if you're just doing consults, you're trading time for money and you're not building anything for the future. So one thing I like about Nature Sunshine is it does give people the opportunity to build an organization that actually starts to get them residual income. And I think that's really important because it's like you said, most people are living from paycheck to paycheck. So it is an opportunity for people with their health, but it's also an opportunity for people with their business. But you also show that just hard work and commitment will really pay off in the long run, right? You just get out there and just keep going at it, and don't give up.
And I go to bed each night knowing that I'm doing what God put me on this planet for. And that's very comforting and very rewarding and very important. As a child, I always knew that I would marry a nurse someday. And I walked around with that book. I didn't know why I cared about health. For a young boy to be that wrapped up in it was spiritual direction without a doubt. And so that's extremely, extremely gratifying to me. Yeah. I've made a big difference in many people's lives.
Well, someone just asked, what is the link to your blog? So you want to give us the link to your blog?
I didn't realize, I'm just looking at you. I didn't realize other people were paying attention.
If you want to, you can type it into the message box.
Okay, it's sunshine-house.com. Am I typing at the proper place?
I don't know. There's a little chat box. Type your message. Just type it in.
Okay.
And it should be able to hit return, and it should post for everybody.
I'm not locating it, Stephen. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. Do you see the control panel on the right? Or maybe you don't. There should be, there's a little gear setting, and underneath it, there's a little like talkie window. If you click on that, that takes you into the chat area.
Yeah, for some reason that's, I'm not seeing that.
Okay, so it's again, Sunshine.
Anyway, it's sunshine-house.com.
Sunshinehouse.com. Okay. All right.
I guess hyperstand. Sunshine hyperstand.com. house.com.
Well, thank you so much for sharing your journey in this business and your enthusiasm and your passion for helping people. And hopefully some of the people who watch this will catch that same vision and passion and really be dedicated, because one of the things I really want to see is a whole new generation take up the torch of really going forward with this and sharing this message and getting the information out to all of the people who need it. So appreciate your time and thank you so much for joining us today.
It's been a great honor, Stephen.
Thank you for watching Profiles in Success. Profiles in Success is a webinar we offer to the members of our program at stephenhorne.com. There are 2 other webinars we offer each month for our members, as well as an extensive online database and discounts on products and courses. To learn more, visit stephenhorne.com. Thank you for watching.